if you've been paying attention to just what the Buckeyes have done in the transfer portal in the last week, you have seen Ryan Day is doing everything possible to build a 2024 roster that is capable of winning a national championship right damn now. That man out there like he's Jago in Killer Instinct throwing combo breakers at Galatius. You know, for those of y'all that don't do the fighting games, a combo breaker is like when your woman is screaming at you and you say, my mama was right about you, that's a combo breaker. You know, yeah, right there, right? Where you get the hand to the face and she stopped talking or you stop talking, that's a combo breaker, right? That is what Ohio State is attempting to do right now because, frankly, it ain't been looking good for Buckeye fans. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this, right? The first one is you might think that getting Caleb Downs out of the transfer portal is a tremendous win for Ohio State. You'd be right. It's also a tremendous loss for Bama, one, where he played last year and where I think he proved to be the best defensive back in all of football. But also for Georgia, which is where many of us thought he was going to be come this time next week because his dude, Travaris Robertson, was right over there. Coach of DBs at Georgia, had left the job at Alabama, and that's his man's. But apparently, the Ohio State staff and the Ohio State Foundation had a lot to say about what Caleb Downs may or may not be doing, right? But that's a safety, right? And I understand that we're putting a lot of onus on a safety, but if you watch that guy play, you understand that he's the kind of dude that you match up against Brock Bowers, and he was holding his own. He's also the kind of man you can put in the slot. You can put him out of corner if you want to. He's the most capable safety that has come out of a Nick Saban coach football team since Minkah Fitzpatrick. And Minkah could play 6 different positions. You know what I'm saying? He's that good. And when you add him to that secondary, it's going to have Denzel Burke. It's going to have Jordan Hancock. It's going to have Latham Ransom. It's going to have Sonny Styles. You're already beginning to salivate. But that's just one player. Now, it's a big player, right? But you add in there that he was also able to pull Julian Sayin, a former blue chip product out of Carlsbad, California, who I think has a lot in common with Bryce Young. He's silky, he's smooth, he's accurate, and a quarterback that he can add with another 2024 top 50 recruit in Aaron Nolan, guy that we've had on the show before, and who also can absolutely spin it out there throwing darts at Langston Hughes. You're going to have both of those guys behind which we think is going to be the presumptive starter in Will Howard, another guy that Ryan Day went into the portal to go get. People are going, okay, RJ, why do you like Will Howard so much? I look at the stats, and the stats aren't that great. That dude came off the bench last year and led Kansas State to a Big 12 championship against a 12-0 Texas Christian. And this year, they're basically just short of playing another Big 12 championship. Just didn't go their way against Texas. A couple other games here. He goes into the portal as a grad transfer. And I think he gives you the kind of foundation, being 6'5", 240, where you can do most of what you want. You can throw the ball down the field to Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, right? Among others. And then you're adding Jeremiah Smith to this mix. You know what I'm saying? Right? Then you add in another SEC transfer in Quinshon Judkins, who went for over 1,500 yards as a true freshman. Went over 1,100 yards just this year. And you're going to add him to a backfield that's already got Travion Henderson in it. Donovan Jackson's back at guard. Like, we keep going down here. Like, these are awesome combos. These are ultra combos. You know what I'm saying? And then we add in a Bill O'Brien, which I understand is kind of a lightning rod here, because you either like Bill O'Brien or you don't. And if you don't like Bill O'Brien, that's okay. But the way that I look at Bill O'Brien being added here to this staff as offensive coordinator is not unlike what Kevin Wilson was for Ryan Day when he was back at Ohio State. It's another great set of eyes. Maybe the guy that calls plays, may not be, right? I don't think that anybody's going to ask Brian Hartline to do any less than what Brian Hartline wants to do. And I think the more minds you can have in that room to help you get that offense back on track, scoring like it was scoring in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, the better. Right? I think that's a good thing for Ryan Day. I also think this is also a great way to open up 2024 with a new athletic director. And not just any new athletic director, Ross Bjork. Because Ross Bjork is the guy who would fire his head coach because he feels that the program is stuck in neutral and thumb his nose at a $77 million buyout to do it. He's that guy. So if anybody understands the urgency for which Ryan Day is making all these moves, right? The kind of moves that have Lane Kiffin out here tweeting articles to websites I've never heard of claiming $13 million to spend on players. It's that guy, right? I think that Ryan Day also is uniquely suited to be a head coach at Ohio State because there aren't a whole lot of men that carry it the way that he carries it. Okay. That man was a missed field goal short of beating Georgia in a Peach Bowl college football playoff semifinal, basically win a national championship. We thought Georgia and Ohio State had what it was to beat Texas Christian or Michigan at the time, right? He's short. Okay. Then you going into the season, the man has put together an outstanding head coaching record. And we're still talking about whether or not he's going to be the head coach at Ohio State following 2023. And the more I ask about that or think about that or even put it to him at Big Ten Media Days, he said, hey, look, they're right. That's the job. Their expectations are the metric, okay? It doesn't matter that I, RJ, might think those metrics are a little bit outlandish and too far out in the weeds or even unattainable in places. They'll say, no, RJ, this is the Ohio State University, right? That's why we trademarked it. That is the standard is winning championships. Going a decade between national championships is just not what Ohio State football is about. And that's before you start to add in this losing streak that they are on against Michigan. That's the part that I think is going to really, really come to haunt Ryan Day if it doesn't happen for him November 30th this year. They go and win the game, because now we're talking about a man who has not beaten Michigan the last 3 times that they have an opportunity to face them, even though he's made the college football playoff, right? Hasn't won a Big Ten title, right, since 2020, okay? Watching Michigan do that. And you watch Jim Harbaugh crawl out from under what I thought was going to be him out the door in 2020 at Michigan to not just winning 3 consecutive Big Ten titles, making 3 consecutive appearances in the college football playoff, and winning a national championship going 15-0 this year. It's also that you were stomping out Ohio State in the process. Now, I understand y'all don't necessarily like that word stomping out, but if you're watching the football games, does it really matter? Is a loss if you're an Ohio State fan? Yeah, it is. You don't really care what the score was, right? It doesn't make you feel good to know that you were thumping Michigan 2018, 2019, 2020 if you're going to lose these games with the best wide receiver in the country, not necessarily getting the ball enough or on 2 really important interceptions, right? Thrown by Kyle McCord, who goes into the portal because apparently it's just real difficult to come back from that. Even C.J. Stroud doesn't live down not beating Michigan, which I think is wild because C.J. Stroud is, I think by anybody's accounting, one of the best quarterbacks in the world today, right? That's also a man who understands what it means to have players around you. You might have noticed that C.J. Stroud dropped between at least $50,000 and as much as $100,000 toward an Ohio State collective that is run by Cardale Jones, making him not just one of the most prominent people to donate to an NIL collective at Ohio State, but its first major gift giver back. Like, he was taking money from that collective and he's able to funnel that back in, right? I think that's the way you draw it up if you're doing these things. But it also is Ohio State absolutely flexing its muscle and going, hey, this is what we want, because we understand that if it's about an arms race, well, we got all the arms, okay? We're willing to spend whatever is necessary and whatever we can do within not cheating to go get players. So Ryan Day is going to have every opportunity to try to win in 2024. But the thing that really sucks about what we're looking at right now is I'm looking at combo breakers in Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan and Will Howard. I'm looking at a combo breaker in Quinshon Judkins. I'm looking at dudes that can stop Michigan from perhaps winning yet another rivalry game in Big Ten championship, and yet we're not going to know the answer to that until November 30th. So it is a thing that carries for damn near a year. And the way I put this in perspective is I got a homeboy who is a diehard Ohio State fan. And on that point, diehard just kind of sounds redundant because I don't know no halfway Ohio State fans. But I told him, we're recording this on a Tuesday. That means that there have been 1,515 days since the last time that Ohio State beat Michigan in a football game, to which my homeboy did not miss a beat. He said, and I quote, "We count by the minute." Dog. Ohio State fans, they tough. They tough because it ain't no 56-8 to them. It's 0-3 against Michigan. It's no Big Ten titles. It's no national championships. That's how they keep score in Columbus. That's the job that Ryan Day has signed up to take. And you know what? Full credit to him because he ain't ducking it. You know what I'm saying? He said, fine, let me go into the portal, see what I can do. Nick Saban's retirement means that we're going to go and try to get some of those players, just like everybody else. right? And we can out-recruit people, we will out-recruit people. And that is how Nick Saban was able to build Alabama back into the juggernaut that it once was. He said to Mal Moore, athletic director at the time, you've hired an expletive football coach, but nobody will out-recruit me. And you look at what Ryan Day has done, you can understand he's trying to affect that same mindset. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.